Take a look at this image for a second. One man looks strong, energized, confident. The other looks exhausted, almost like something inside his body is working against him. Now here's the uncomfortable question most men never ask themselves. What if aging faster isn't just about getting older? What if something is quietly changing inside your DNA? Something that may start happening to men after 50 without any warning. Most people assume aging is just about time passing. A few more candles on the birthday cake, a little less energy, maybe a few extra aches. But modern research is starting to reveal something far more interesting, and honestly, a little unsettling. Some men begin losing a key part of their genetic code as they age. Not metaphorically, literally at the cellular level. And once you understand what scientists have discovered, the way you think about longevity, health span, and how to age better may completely change. But here's the surprising part. This isn't a story about fear or bad genetics. It's actually a story about control. Because the same research that uncovered this DNA change also revealed something powerful. The habits that protect your strength after 50, mobility, balance, and long-term dependence may influence how your body responds to aging itself. So if you've ever wondered why some men seem to age rapidly, while others stay strong, sharp, and active well into their 70s, what you're about to learn may change the way you look at your own future. There's a quiet biological shift happening inside many men after 50, and most people have never heard about it. Not doctors in routine checkups, not fitness magazines, and certainly not the mainstream health conversation. Yet this microscopic change may influence how men experience aging, energy, and resilience over time. We often talk about longevity as if it were only about diet or exercise, but sometimes the real story begins deep inside your cells. And in this case, it starts with something happening to your DNA. The surprising part? You could be doing everything right and still never know this process exists. Researchers have discovered that many men gradually lose the Y chromosome in a portion of their blood cells as they age. Scientists call this phenomenon mosaic loss of Y, or simply LOI. Now that might sound like a small technical detail, but here's the striking part. By their 70s, some men may have lost the Y chromosome in up to 40% of their blood cells. Think about that for a moment. The chromosome that defines male biology isn't disappearing everywhere, but in enough cells that it begins to matter for long-term health span and biological resilience. For a long time, scientists believed the Y chromosome mainly existed for reproduction, but newer research paints a very different picture. The Y chromosome appears to play a role in regulating aspects of the immune system and inflammation control. In other words, it may influence how well your body detects threats, repairs tissue, and protects itself from chronic disease. When some of those Y chromosomes disappear from certain immune cells, the system may become less efficient, not dramatically overnight, but gradually, quietly, year by year. And that's exactly how many changes in healthy aging unfold. Now here's where things get even more interesting. Losing some Y chromosomes doesn't mean aging poorly is inevitable. Not even close. In fact, the body is remarkably adaptable when supported with the right habits. Things like strength after 50, good mobility, consistent movement, and evidence-based health practices that protect cellular function. The real question isn't whether this DNA change can happen. The real question is why some men seem far more affected by it than others. And that leads directly to the next piece of the puzzle. Something that explains why men and women often experience aging very differently. Now here's where the story takes an unexpected turn. When scientists started studying why men often age differently than women, they noticed something fascinating at the genetic level. Women carry 2 X chromosomes, while men carry 1 X and 1 Y. At first glance, that might sound like a simple biological detail you learned in school. But in reality, it creates a powerful difference in how the body protects itself over decades. And when you begin to understand this, the patterns we see in longevity and health span suddenly make a lot more sense. You see, having 2 X chromosomes gives women something like a biological backup system. If one copy of a gene doesn't function perfectly, the other can often compensate. Many immune-related genes live on the X chromosome, which means women have built-in redundancy for certain protective mechanisms. Men, on the other hand, operate with a different setup. one X and one Y. And if some cells lose that Y chromosome over time, as happens in mosaic loss of Y, the immune system may lose part of its coordination. In simple terms, women have a genetic backup plan. Men usually don't. That difference can influence how the body manages inflammation, repairs tissue, and responds to illness over the years. Some researchers believe this partially explains why men tend to experience higher rates of certain cardiovascular and inflammatory conditions later in life. It also helps explain why recovery sometimes slows down with age. The immune system isn't necessarily weaker, but it may be operating with fewer genetic tools. This is one reason evidence-based health strategies become so important after 50, especially when the goal is aging well while maintaining independence and quality of life. But here's the encouraging part. Biology is not destiny. Even when genetics create certain vulnerabilities, daily habits still influence how the body performs over time. Movement, nutrition, sleep, and functional fitness all interact with the immune system in powerful ways. The body constantly adapts to the signals it receives from your lifestyle. And when scientists looked closer at men who maintained strong mobility, balance, and strength after 50, they noticed something interesting. Their biological aging markers often looked very different. Which raises a very important question. What everyday habits might accelerate this Y chromosome loss in the first place? But here's where the conversation gets a little uncomfortable and also empowering. When researchers began studying mosaic loss of the Y chromosome, they noticed something striking. This process isn't influenced only by time or genetics. In many cases, it's heavily shaped by lifestyle. In other words, part of what accelerates biological aging is not just what happens inside your DNA, it's the signals you send to your body every single day. And once you understand that connection, the idea of aging well becomes much more actionable. One of the strongest associations scientists found is smoking. Studies suggest that men who smoke may experience up to 4 times more Y chromosome loss in blood cells compared to non-smokers. The reason is fairly straightforward. Smoking increases oxidative stress and chronic inflammation, both of which damage cellular structures over time. Think of oxidative stress like microscopic rust slowly forming inside the body. The more that environment persists, the harder it becomes for cells to maintain stability, which directly affects long-term health span and quality of life. But smoking isn't the only factor. Researchers are also looking at the role of chronic inflammation, metabolic syndrome, poor sleep, and sedentary living. When blood sugar stays elevated, when sleep becomes fragmented, when the body rarely experiences physical challenge, the cellular environment becomes less stable. Over time, this can influence DNA maintenance and immune regulation. This is exactly why practices like functional fitness, regular mobility work, and strength after 50 play such a powerful role in healthy aging. They create a biological environment where the body can repair and regulate itself more effectively. Now, here's something worth reflecting on. Many men believe aging happens mostly because of time, birthdays passing, decades accumulating. But biology doesn't quite work that way. Your body is constantly responding to signals. How you move, how you recover, how you fuel yourself. A man who walks daily, maintains balance and mobility, sleeps well, and trains his muscles sends a completely different signal to his cells than someone living under chronic stress and inactivity. And that leads us to one of the most overlooked protective systems in the entire body, something that quietly supports longevity far beyond what most people imagine. At this point, it's worth mentioning something many viewers have been asking about recently. When people begin to understand how lifestyle shapes cellular health, they often want a structured roadmap, a clear system for protecting independence, functional fitness, and long-term longevity. That's exactly why the guide, the Longevity Protocol, your comprehensive guide to a longer, healthier life, was created. It organizes the most practical, evidence-based health strategies for maintaining strength, mobility, and resilience over the years. If that's something you're curious about, you'll find the link waiting in the pinned comment below. And interestingly enough, when scientists studied men who age with stronger biological resilience, one factor appeared again and again, something that doesn't just help you move better. It actually influences inflammation, metabolism, and cellular protection at a deeper level. And that brings us to a powerful idea that many people still underestimate: muscle. At this point, most people still think of muscle as something related to appearance or maybe athletic performance. But modern science sees it very differently. Muscle is increasingly understood as a metabolic and hormonal organ that influences how the entire body ages. In fact, when researchers study longevity and health span, they often find that muscle mass and strength are among the strongest predictors of independence, mobility, and quality of life later in life. In other words, muscle isn't just about lifting things, it's about protecting your biology. When you train your muscles, whether with resistance bands, body weight movements, or light weights, your body releases molecules called myokines. These are signaling proteins produced by muscle tissue that communicate with other organs, including the brain, liver, and immune system. Some of these myokines help reduce systemic inflammation and improve insulin sensitivity, which supports metabolic stability over time. And here's the fascinating part. A body that maintains strength after 50 tends to create a cellular environment that's far more supportive of healthy aging. This is why something as simple as consistent functional fitness can influence biological aging in ways many people never imagine. A man who performs exercises like sit-to-stands, step-ups, farmer carries, or resistance band rows a few times per week is doing far more than strengthening his muscles. He's improving mitochondrial efficiency, supporting immune regulation, and maintaining the systems that protect long-term health span. Even short routines, 20 to 30 minutes, 2 or 3 times per week, can begin shifting the internal environment of the body toward resilience. And here's the deeper insight many people miss. Muscle doesn't just help you move better today. It helps protect the biological systems that influence aging tomorrow. A stronger body regulates inflammation more effectively, stabilizes blood sugar, and supports the metabolic pathways connected to cellular repair. That's why the longevity blueprint philosophy keeps returning to one simple idea: functional strength supports independence. Because when your muscles stay active, your entire biology behaves differently, which naturally raises the next question. If muscle plays such a powerful protective role, what daily habits help preserve those cellular systems? The ones quietly protecting your DNA every single day. Now, this is the part many people are relieved to hear. Because once we understand the biology behind aging, the next logical question becomes, what can actually be done about it? The good news is that your DNA is not operating in isolation. Your cells constantly respond to signals coming from movement, nutrition, sleep, and metabolic health. That means the habits you practice every day quietly shape the environment where your genes operate. And when those signals support evidence-based health, they help extend not only lifespan, but more importantly, health span. One of the most powerful signals you can send to your body is resistance training. This doesn't mean training like a professional athlete. In fact, simple routines done 2 or 3 times per week can already create meaningful benefits. Movements like bodyweight squats, wall push-ups, resistance band rows, or light dumbbell presses help maintain strength after 50, support metabolic stability, and reduce systemic inflammation. These exercises reinforce functional fitness, the type of strength that helps you climb stairs, carry groceries, and maintain independence decades from now. Nutrition also plays a central role in maintaining cellular resilience. As we age, the body becomes slightly less efficient at using protein to maintain muscle tissue. That's why adequate protein intake becomes especially important for healthy aging. Many experts suggest distributing protein across meals. For example, eggs or Greek yogurt at breakfast, fish or chicken at lunch, and legumes or lean meat at dinner. This simple strategy supports muscle maintenance, which in turn reinforces mobility, balance, and long-term quality of life. Then there's sleep, the most underestimated recovery tool in the entire longevity conversation. During deep sleep, the body performs critical repair processes, including immune regulation and cellular cleanup. Poor sleep increases inflammation and metabolic stress, which can influence how well the body protects its DNA. Creating a consistent sleep rhythm, dimming lights at night, avoiding late caffeine, and keeping a regular bedtime may sound simple, but these routines strongly support aging well. And finally, we come to cardiovascular movement. Not extreme endurance training, but regular activity that keeps blood flowing and mitochondria active. Daily walks, cycling, swimming, or even brisk gardening can support mitochondrial function and metabolic flexibility. 30 minutes of walking most days of the week can dramatically improve longevity, balance, and functional independence over time. Your body doesn't need punishment. It needs consistent signals that it's still meant to move. But once people begin adopting these habits, another question naturally appears. If lifestyle is the foundation of healthy aging, are there any additional tools that science is studying to support cellular resilience? Not shortcuts, but supportive strategies. And that's where the conversation about evidence-based supplements and light educational biohacking begins. By the time someone begins improving sleep, movement, and nutrition, another question usually appears. Is there anything else that might help support the body at the cellular level? Not magic pills, not shortcuts, just supportive tools grounded in evidence-based health. This is where the conversation often shifts into what we call light, educational biohacking. The key word here is support. Supplements don't replace lifestyle. They simply help reinforce the systems that protect longevity, mobility, and quality of life over time. One of the most researched nutrients in this space is omega-3 fatty acids, commonly found in fatty fish like salmon, sardines, and mackerel. Omega-3s appear to support cardiovascular health, reduce systemic inflammation, and assist immune balance. Many men over 50 don't consume enough of these fats through diet alone. That's why some longevity researchers suggest either eating fatty fish 2 or 3 times per week or considering a high-quality fish oil supplement. It's a simple strategy, but one that may quietly support healthy aging and metabolic stability. Another important player is vitamin D, sometimes called the sunlight hormone. Vitamin D helps regulate immune function, supports bone health, and may influence muscle performance, all essential factors for maintaining strength after 50. Since many adults spend less time outdoors than previous generations, vitamin D levels often decline with age. Pair that with magnesium, a mineral involved in hundreds of cellular reactions, including muscle recovery, sleep quality, and nervous system regulation, and you begin supporting multiple pillars of functional fitness and health span at once. Then there's creatine, one of the most studied compounds in exercise science. While often associated with athletes, creatine is increasingly being discussed in the context of healthy aging. It helps support muscular energy production and may also benefit brain energy metabolism. For adults focused on maintaining mobility, balance, and independence, creatine can complement resistance training in a very practical way. Think of it not as a performance enhancer, but as a tool that supports the energy systems behind functional strength and longevity. Finally, researchers are exploring compounds related to NAD+ metabolism, such as NMN. These are still considered experimental and are being actively studied for their potential influence on cellular repair processes. Some early research suggests possible benefits, but the scientific community remains cautious. And that's an important distinction. In the longevity blueprint philosophy, supplements are never the foundation. They're the supporting cast. Because at the end of the day, the habits that truly shape health span, aging well, and long-term independence are still the daily choices you make with your body. And when you step back and look at the whole picture, genetics, lifestyle, muscle, metabolism, and supportive tools, a deeper realization begins to emerge. Aging isn't just something that happens to you. It's something your biology responds to, day after day. Which brings us to an important reflection about the choices that quietly shape the future version of you. Now take a moment and think about this. If part of the aging process in men is influenced by what's happening inside their cells, even at the DNA level, then the real question becomes, what signals are you sending your body every single day? Are your habits pushing your biology toward resilience or toward faster decline? Because longevity isn't something that suddenly appears at 80. It's something quietly built through the small decisions you repeat daily. How you move, how you eat, how you sleep, and how you protect your strength, mobility, and independence over time. And here's the powerful truth most people overlook. Your goal isn't to stay young forever. That's not realistic, and honestly, it's not necessary. The real goal is much more meaningful than that. It's maintaining the ability to walk confidently, climb stairs without hesitation, carry groceries, think clearly, and live life on your own terms. That's what true health span and functional longevity look like. As we like to say here on the channel, your goal isn't youth, it's independence. So here's a question for you. After everything you learned today, what is one habit you could start improving this week to protect your future health? Maybe it's adding 2 strength sessions to your week. Maybe it's walking 30 minutes a day. Maybe it's improving your sleep or focusing on better nutrition. Whatever it is, start there, because the future version of you is being built right now. And if you found this helpful, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, because every week we explore practical, science-based strategies to help you live longer, stay stronger, and age smarter. And before you go, there's another video you should absolutely watch next. Because understanding DNA is important, but there's something even more powerful protecting your longevity after 50, your muscle. I made a full video explaining why muscle becomes your longevity organ after 50 and exactly how to protect it. Click the video appearing on your screen now. It will change the way you think about strength and aging.